You are with us here doing another live um, video on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. This is Brother Jamal. I'm your host for this segment. Um, just have a few things I wanted to just share with you about the importance of the time that we're living in and the importance of establishing truth. We have been constantly talking about the whole idea of Allah commanding us what Allah commands us to do in maintaining justice. Allah commands us and instructs us and tells us, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, that if when we judge between people, we have to always judge with fairness. Anytime that we judge between people, it has to be done in fairness. Otherwise, the judgment is invalid. You can't make a judgment with people because based on inferiority, superiority, based on where someone stays, how much clout, how much money, what position they have. It has to be done in fairness. Just like we say, there's not a one-sided coin. A coin has two sides to it. It has a head and it has a tail. There's no one-sided coin, because if you have a one-sided coin, that's mean that it's unfair and it's unjust. So it can't be any fairness coming out of that if someone's trying to rule with the people in a just way and they have one-sided coin. You have to have a two-sided coin, which simply means that Allah commands us to judge between people always in fairness. So in order to establish the truth, the falsehood must be done away with. The wickedness, the evil doers, and the wicked people must be done away with. A revolutionary has to take place because new ideas, a whole foundation of wickedness, of evil, has to be uprooted and destroyed and done away with. When I hear people talk about having a police reform bill, introducing legislation, introducing things in the Congress and in the Senate and stuff on a reform legislation bill to try to reform the wickedness that's in these police departments, trying to reform the evil that's ingrained in these police departments. All this goes back to the foundation, and that has to be uprooted. If you're going to have a reform, if you're going to have a change, you can't leave the wickedness there. You can't leave the evil there and expect to reform that. You can't reform it. That has to be done away with. There has to be a clean slate. See? And somehow people seem to think that they can reform something, and they've been carrying on this wickedness and this evil doing towards black people for quite some time. It ain't just like it just now started. This is why I was saying earlier today, the murder of George Floyd and the constant social injustice, oppression, and institutionalized racism. Do you happen to know that this has been with us for quite some time? And the George Floyd murder, that tipped the scale, and the pressure cooker. What happened was the lid shot off of the pressure cooker. That's what happened. You know, when you have a pressure cooker on the stove, and when it gets a certain temperature, if the top is not released, then the pressure from the pressure cooker will simply blow the top off. The murder of George Floyd in this country, it blew the lid off of everything, because people have been seeing day in, day out, black men, black women, black kids, black teenagers, older black people, middle-aged black people getting murdered and abused in this country, and nobody actually acts like it doesn't even happen, like it's not even existing. And this is simply because the wickedness and the evil of this system has portrayed the image as if black people are not human. They don't cry, they don't have emotions, they don't have feelings, they don't bleed, they don't hurt, as if we're not human. And so what happened when people witness these wicked cops murdering George Floyd, that was the tip of the iceberg. That blew the lid off of the pressure cooker, because people actually saw this wicked, evil police officer on his neck, saw the other wicked, evil police officers holding him down, holding his arms down, holding his legs down. Now, if that's not wicked, if that's not wicked and evil, I don't know what is. There's no other way to describe it. So how do you reform that kind of wickedness by trying to pass a reform bill to supposedly reform the wickedness? You got to uproot the wickedness. You got to uproot the falsehood to get rid of all that, to have a clean start. So once again, this is why the movement, the protests, the demonstration, the rallies, all of that is important, because it puts pressure. And then it begins to pop things wide open. All the races and the hate and the assault that you see going on now in the country, that's been there all the time. It took this pressure cooker to explode, and then people started really showing their real, true feelings. That's what you see happening today. And I don't know why we continue to be shocked and surprised, because they've been feeling this way all the time. It took this pressure cooker to blow, the lid had to blow off before they could actually see this is how they really feel about black people. And you've been seeing incidents where black men have been harmed in California. A young black man in Texas, another young man in Las Vegas. You seeing black men being lynched and harmed like they were back in the 50s, like they were in the 60s, because this is how they really feel about black people. And so you're seeing history come full circle back again, and here we are in 2020, and we're seeing the same kind of assaults, the same kind of hate crime, the same kind of attacks upon black people. See, in this country, we have 18 countries around the world that are in solidarity with us, because they see the hypocrites in this country. They want to preach to everybody else about human rights violation. They want to preach to everybody in the world about human rights violation. And here, right inside the borders of this country, the very thing that they are preaching to everybody else, they are doing it right here in the U.S. to the black citizens. So it's hypocritical on the U.S. part to go preach to everybody else about how you treat your people, and then you're doing the same thing to black people right inside the U.S. So it's hypocritical. It's a hypocrite that does that. And this is what people are pointing out. 18 countries in solidarity with the movement against social injustice, oppression, institutionalized racism in this country. And they see what's going on. They know what time it is. And I encourage the young people to continue to march, to protest, to rally, to demonstrate, all of that. Continue to keep the pressure up. If you can't keep it up at one level, keep it up at another level. It's important to keep the pressure up. And for these people that are so concerned about police reform, then I'm here to tell you, they were talking about police reform in 1980. They was talking about police reform in 1990. Here we are in 2020, and this still is being talked about, because it says that whatever they were trying to do, were attempting to do back then, it didn't work. They didn't pass no bills. They didn't do anything. And here we are back again in 2020, repeating and talking about the same thing. This is why we are saying the police unions, they're nothing but a buffer to protect these corrupt cops. That's all it is. The wickedness that's there, they are nothing but a buffer to protect the wickedness, and the evil that's there. Cover up, cover up the wickedness and the evil cops that commit these crimes. That's all it is. So once again, we wanted to bring this to you. Brother Jamal here. We'll try to post this video in as many places as we can. And inshallah, we'll continue to try to ask Allah to give us the steadfastness, the wherewithal the endurance, the perseverance to continue to bring you these videos.